This computer. Darn it. For those who are going to hear the recording later, I forgot to hit record. So, but we're still at the beginning, and everybody just laughed because they said start over. Well, you know, starting over is talking about this idea, the gift of a new journey, right? We're on a new journey continually. And so here's a new journey that is happening for us right now. For us, you heard me say. I've been doing, as I said a moment ago, I've been doing all this treatment work to deepen my experience of the divine and really get into it so much more than I ever have before. And I get a phone call from headquarters asking me if I would be willing to be the senior minister of the Eureka Center for Spiritual Living. And I said, what? There's no way I'm moving. There's no way I'm leaving Eureka. I love our community. And Julie Lobato says, no. We want you to be their minister too. So I thought, well, how does that work? So I talked to Candace Beckett, Dr. Candace Beckett. You've seen her on Zoom and also, here. She was the one that installed me when I had my installation and has been my friend for over 40 some years. She resigned her position. She was at that church for 30 years. Can you believe that? That's like a record in CSL. So she resigned her position 2 years ago. And then the pandemic hit and nobody wanted to come candidate for Eureka. It's a very small center. And so she said, all right, I'll come back, but only on a temporary basis. So a year later, things are happening in her family that she really wants to be retired. And so this proposition was put to me. So I do know that there's one other minister in CSL who's doing this. He has what I'm calling sister centers. He has one in Bakersfield and one in Antelope Valley. So I called him and I said, well, how does this work? And we not only spent 2 hours on the phone together just about, but he sent me a 5-page article or proposition. No, it's not a proposition. It's proposal, cooperation proposal that he used for his centers. Now he's got one of those organized minds. I never would have thought about doing anything like that. So I said, oh, please send that to me. So he did. So I talked to the board about it last month. And it seems like it's going to be a goal. I want, though, for all of us to agree to it. At least the majority of us to agree to it. And what does it mean being a sister center? Well, we're going to figure that out. Because we will be only the second official sister center team that CSL has right now. And as Gregory and I were talking, we were thinking, geez, after a while, we will really have this down, and then we can teach it to other people. And then these little centers that have been in business for years, like Eureka has been, I think it's 43 years, they've been a center, but they have a small amount of people. And instead of yanking their charters and letting them die or become study centers, study groups, etc., this would be a way to keep it growing. So what is it going to look like? I don't know. But what I do know, I know a little bit. What I do know is that every single one of us is on a journey. Whether we're on a journey as a community or whether you're on a journey personally, you are on a journey. All of life has changed around us, hasn't it? Nothing will ever be the same as it was before. I keep hearing so many people saying, oh, but only if we could go back. I don't want to go back. I want to go forward. So here's my ideas about going forward. First, we have to have a beginner's mind. In Japan, this is by Master Suzuki, he says, in Japan we have the phrase shoshin, which means beginner's mind. Our original mind includes everything within itself. It is always rich and sufficient within itself. This does not mean a closed mind, but actually an empty mind and a ready mind. If your mind is empty, it is always ready for anything. It is open to everything. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. So as we move into this next section of our spiritual journey called life, we want to be open. And this is what I see a beginner's mind looks like. Look at that little boy. He happens to be looking at the Bible. And I thought that was really kind of humorous. I was trying to figure out what's he laughing about? You know? But he's too young to actually be reading it, it looks like. But to have that child's mind, even Jesus said, "Come unto me as a little child." And what are children don't have preconceived ideas about what life is supposed to look like. They're just, oh, look, a bug. Oh, look, the stars. Oh, look, mommy's mad. Or whatever, right? They're just ready to move into whatever it is. So this is the way I want us to feel. Like a little child, open and ready and excited and happy about whatever we're creating. So here's my ideas. And I mentioned the first one already. You have to be free of preconceptions of how anything works. Now, you know, you put two churches together, two centers together rather, they have their 43 years of how they do things. We have our 35 years of how we do things. You know, so now we get to look at how do we stay autonomous and yet be together. Right? So this is a new idea. And we have to be free of expectations about what will happen. For instance, here's an expectation that you might consider. We start at 10 o'clock in the morning. They start at 10:30. I thought, I wonder how many of you would be willing to start at 10:30. Oh, we have quite a few hands. Okay, that's good. Gives you an extra half hour to snuggle in bed. I know my cat did not want me to get up this morning. It's like I tried to move Sandy off of me. Now Sandy is my great big one, and tried to move her off of me, and she's like, "Meow." You know, stay here. So we have to let ourselves just go to this experience with an open mind and an open heart. Not allowing any expectations. I mean, I want us to live in expectancy. We have expectancy that our center will grow. We have an expectancy that Ukiah will grow. We have an expectancy that we'll be able to meld the two. Thank goodness for technology, because I'll be able to speak to two churches at one time. Amazing. And that child what else is in a child's mind? They're filled with curiosity. They're curious about everything. And that is the one thing I was thinking about myself. Somebody said to me, they could hardly believe how old I was because I'm so young-minded. And I thought, it's because I'm so curious. I really am curious about absolutely anything. For instance, I went to a new cat client's house yesterday, and she has like so many books in her house. And of course, my eyes are like, boing! What kind of books does this woman read? And because you walk into my house, and what you immediately see 3 bookcases stacked to there's no space left at all in those bookcases because I love to read. So, and then she was showing me where the cat food was, and what did I notice? Not only the cat food, but a whole row of wonderful cookbooks. So, of course, I'm building my image of what this person is or who this person is by their books. But being curious. I mean, how many of us actually sit down and ask each other questions? Really those deep kind of questions or fun kind of questions. Like, when you were a kid, did you ever roller skate? And what was your funniest roller skating experience? Or something like that. But be filled with curiosity. And be open to a world of possibilities since you don't know yet what is or isn't possible. This is the way it is with this idea of sister sinners, but it's also an idea about how we're moving along our life's path. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And normally when somebody says that, they're thinking negative things, aren't they? I mean, what I hear lots of people say is, you could get in a car accident tomorrow. Well, that's not what we're going to do. A kid doesn't do that. A child doesn't do that. A child thinks, oh, tomorrow I could get a present. Tomorrow I could find that bug that I saw yesterday and capture him and put him in a bottle. Tomorrow is a world of possibilities because we do not know what can or cannot happen. So as you're walking along your path, really allow yourself to honor these ideas, to see if you can actually go into your next experience without any preconceived ideas about it. I don't know if that's possible, to tell you the truth, though it must be. And I think maybe that what we can do is when we notice that we're starting to have preconceived ideas about the next experience is that we could stop and take a breath and allow ourselves to move into that sacred center of ourselves. And then remember, I'm a spiritual child. And I'm going to move into this experience as if it's something brand new, something magical. I really like that idea of magical, to move into our lives as if it was something magical. Because when you think about it, I was looking at a science paper that I get on the internet yesterday, and maybe that's why my computer's acting up. It doesn't like me going out into space and all this stuff all the time. But I was looking at this beautiful photograph of a close galaxy that they are now being able to photograph, and looking at all these lights in there and thinking about, wow, my mind immediately goes off and to think about all the worlds that might be in there, and what kind of people are there, et cetera, et cetera. And then I remembered this movie that I saw, a very short little clip that I saw in the museum in Hilo, Hawaii, where because there's beautiful, Mauna Kea has like 4 countries with telescopes on top of the mountains, right? Looking at space all the time. But they start out with looking at the galaxy. And then they come in by tens, and I don't know 10 what, but I just remember tens. And they come in and they're getting closer and closer and closer, and pretty soon you see our planet, and then they get closer and closer, and you see land masses on the planet, and they get closer and closer, and you can start seeing green and mountains and snow and all that, and closer, and as it finally gets to a point, there you're looking at a man and a woman sitting on a blanket having a picnic lunch. And I don't remember what happens. Oh, and then they end up they keep going, and they're at a lake where, these people are looking at a lake, and there's a guy in a little boat who's fishing, and on his fishing line at the end is a drop of water. And so they keep going and going and going into that water, looking at all the little things that are floating around in that drop of water, going even further and further until what you're seeing is something that matches the galaxy that you started out with. Isn't that amazing? I'm going to have to go on YouTube and see if I can find that, because it was an incredible thing. And it brought to me this idea about it's all divine energy, every single bit of it. And maybe at the very depths of things, this inside this divine energy might look like a galaxy. Or it would go in even further and look like something else. Who knows? But I don't even remember why I started to tell you that story. Filled with curiosity, thank you. That idea, though, of there is so much more to this life than we've allowed ourselves to imagine. Magic, that's where I was. That film seemed like magic to me. Your life and how you're living it seems like magic to me. Christmas, the holidays, no matter what faith tradition you're following, there's something magical about this season. And so what I want us to do is to allow ourselves to be open to that world of possibilities and think about it with what people put us down for sometimes that don't know what science mind is, magical thinking. What can I create? And I would rather us move from a place of, oh boy, I could create a new house, or I can create parking spaces, or I could create more money, or I could create whatever. What I want us to create is a deeper experience of the divine. What I want us to create is, what if it's true that I'm the divine? What if it's true if this platform is actually divine substance? What if it's true? And what would happen if I really believed that that was true? Those of you that want to be healers, you would really be healers. Those of you who wanted to be artists or singers or accountants or whatever it might be, you would really be that at a deeper level. And everything that you might have asked for in spiritual mind treatment, the things, all of that just comes to you. It just comes. Once you let yourself realize, I'm a spiritual being, experiencing humanity, and I'm going to walk this path, letting go of how I think everything should work. I'm going to let go about expectations of what's going to be out there, and I'm going to be filled up with that childlike curiosity about my path and open to a world of possibilities. I'm going to know and know that I know that everything, absolutely everything, is divine. Everything. The divine energy is the source and substance of everything. As they say, you've probably heard a million times, there's no spot where God is not. So let yourself, and let us as a community, a sister-centered community, open ourselves up to being the ones that begin to start radiating the level of energy, of peace, of love, of health, of wealth, greater than we ever have before. We'll begin to see it, evidence of it in our own lives and in the center's lives. A spiritual journey. Now this is what I believe, here's the ta-da, right? Here's what I believe we'll get. These are the blessings you get from living this way in beginner's mind. You get to experience your intuition a lot more than you ever have before. I mean, I basically know who's calling on the phone. I mean, now I really know because their name shows up, but But if it's upside down, if the phone's upside down and it rings, I think, oh yeah, that's so-and-so. And I pick it up, and it is. You feel attuned to the universe and to each other. You feel more alive than you ever have before. You feel secure in who you are and what you're doing. You feel welcoming to everyone in your experience. You feel blessed. You feel empathic. You feel connected. You feel grateful. You feel steadfast, and you feel worthy. And I want to talk to you for just a moment about this idea of feeling worthy. When I first got on my spiritual path when I was a kid living at Catholic school, there was this thing that happens when you start really walking your path that makes you feel like, oh no, I don't want to die. Because most of the stories you read about the saints and sages of all traditions is they get their message, they start really do their message, and then they get killed. And I think it's because the people that are doing those stories, telling those stories, they don't feel worthy of it. Who am I to think that this too is God? And yet that's our truth. That's our absolute truth. Because the universe, the divine, first cause, the force, God, whatever you want to call it, is everything. You can't get away from it. You can think you are, but you're really not. So let's step into this idea of worthiness to a greater degree than we ever have before. What I know is that this journey that we're on is going to be absolutely amazing. And if you think back on your life, the journey that you've had up until this very moment has been absolutely amazing. Who says it could have to get worse? It is only going to get better. So let's say this affirmation together and then we'll go into treatment. I am open to receive the gifts and treasures of spirit within each new journey, allowing them to bless and lovingly enrich my life. And so I celebrate us. I celebrate the excitement of going on a new journey together. I celebrate the conscious awareness that all there is the divine. And that the divine is guiding us in most amazing ways. And so I breathe deeply and I open up to allowing myself to be like a little child. With that curiosity, that release of all preconceived ideas, that willingness to move forward without expectations, and yet be in expectancy of even more good. I know, speaking in the first person for all of us, that I am ready and willing to take the steps to be on this new journey. And I absolutely trust that the universe knows all, has my back, is willing and ready to support me in every way I need supporting. And so I take another breath, and I know that this is an exciting time in my life, a time in which I truly get to serve in a way that I've never served before. Whether I'm serving through my music, my writing, my willingness to just be me. The whole universe rushes forward to present me with every possibility. And it is good, very good. So as we move into Christmas, I know for each one of us that we look at that creche scene with new eyes, because we are the baby in that manger, ready and willing to do the work of the divine. We are supported by Joseph and Mary and all the angels and the animals and the three kings and our wise men. We're supported by all of that. We're supported by that star in the sky, which we might even say is our North Star. And so I celebrate us, Christ being born again. And it is good, very good. So I release these words into the law of mind, knowing that they're already so. We are already that which we are speaking of being, and it is good. It is God, and so it is. So we're going to have something fun now for our special music. Donna and Bev and Louise and Anna have prepared a very fun experience for us. Thank you very much.
I don't think so. I don't think it's eminent domain.
It can be put on.
I don't think it's eminent domain. I don't
No, the words are your words.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'll stop the recording if you want. Yes?
Yeah, I checked with SCAT, we can record anything we want. So it's, even if it's someone else's music, as long as we don't record the actual recording or the performing.
So, do you all want to be recorded?
Sure.
Okay, we'll leave it on.
So a little background on this. I'm not the only deranger in the house. We have Beverly and Louise there sing with another choir. They got together on this song, and with one of their friends, wrote these words to this very popular old song, invited Anna and I to participate, and so we thought this would be a fun one to do for you. Ready? Okay. So please turn on your